Hello, fellow wanderer who's not lost. I'm really looking forward to dropping in with you tonight for our portal report because I have a very special message to deliver. And it came through an ally, a tree ally actually. And it came through in the most curious way. I really took on board the counsel that came through the download of our last portal report, and I spent quite a bit of time outdoors over the past few days, really connecting with nature, dropping in with the elements, disconnecting from the electronics, and just allowing myself to get really rooted in to see what came through, what keys I would discover along the way. And I had a very rare experience one moonlit night when I was out on a stroll, where suddenly I was enveloped by the intoxicating scent of sandalwood. And everywhere I went, it enfolded me, and it was the most beautiful experience, very rare kind of experience. Now, I do have clairaudience. I do pick up information through my olfactory senses, but it doesn't happen very commonly. And when it does come in, I know that there is something significant weaving into reality from the subtle realms. And so I really wanted to drop in with a message that came through sandalwood. First, I want to begin by giving a little bit of information about sandalwood and its uses and what it's beneficial for. It's a very revered nervine. It helps to calm the nervous system. It helps to still the mind of its chatter. It's also got a sensuality to it. It's a revered aphrodisiac. It helps us tap more into our senses, more into our sensuality. And when combined with rose, it has this beautiful, intoxicating aroma that allows us to soften, unfurl, and open up to what wants to be revealed within us, something of beauty that may have become buried underneath the coldness, underneath what has become self-protective armoring. It helps to dissolve that through strengthening our etheric body. Sandalwood acts as a gateway between heaven and earth, and so those of us who like to wander off beyond the hedge, who like to travel interdimensionally, who are journeyers, and those of us who take trips in our mind through meditation, or perhaps some of you are psychonauts. It's another kind of journeying that can retrieve information from the etheric realms. It really allows us to anchor what we discover there in a very embodied way. In terms of the chakra system, it is connected to Muladhara, the root chakra, but it acts as a bridge to Sahasrara, the crown chakra. And so it allows us to really retrieve what we find when we are wandering off in the alfalfa and be able to bring it back and root it in material reality. It's also known to grant wishes and prayers. It carries our intentions on the stream of incense up into the ethers, where it can find the favor of benevolent forces who watch over us. And it also allows us to really embody those more astral energies on a physical level, thereby enhancing our intuition and in some cases enhancing our clairs. And not only does it calm our minds, it also stills the turbulence of the waters of our emotions, our reactiveness, everything that can get in between us and our own intuitive knowing. And it really enables us to retrieve those gems that we pluck, those diamonds out of the void, into our mundane reality. It helps to act as an anchor of what otherwise could just wander off into the ether, never to be reclaimed. It really does have that quality of being able to take the upper channels and root them in the lower channel experience. Not that this earthly experience does not have its own spiritual component, because it absolutely does. And sometimes People on a spiritual journey tend to revere more of the intangible than they do the tangible experiences. But truly, we are here to embody the spiritual within the physical, and that's what sandalwood helps us to achieve. It's been used for ages. It's been used in funeral rites to sanctify the body and was a key component in embalming practices in ancient Egypt. And it's also said that Lakshmi lives within the perfumed heart of the sandalwood tree. Now, before I go into this connection with Lakshmi, I do want to say that because of its desirability, there's been over-harvesting of the sandalwood tree. And so if you do decide to work with sandalwood on a physical level, I really encourage you to find ethically sustained sources. Australian sandalwood is a good route to go if you want to work with sandalwood, just so you're not playing a part in what's plundering this natural resource, this natural gift of nature. Now, how is it connected to Lakshmi, and how did Lakshmi become known to reside in the perfumed heart of the sandalwood tree? It's because of the very nature of sandalwood and what it evokes. It evokes a bountiful nature. Bountiful is not only abundant, which is what most people equate Lakshmi with. They see her as a goddess of wealth and prosperity, but she provides a wealth that goes beyond material gain, although she can grant that favor. It's what outlives the lifetime. It's what's left behind. It's the wealth of a legacy. It's the wealth of experience. It's the wealth of rich depth of experience that comes when we're fully engaged with life all around us. Bountiful is not just plentiful. Bountiful also is a quality of generosity, and it's being able to give without any expectation of receiving in return. And this especially applies in cases where there may be need to forgive, maybe need to release our attachment to how we were wronged. It is said that even the sandalwood tree carries this spirit of forgiveness, and that it perfumes the very axe that cuts it down. It imbues this quality of humility within its rings of records and memory. It's also very pure, very simple, very clean, very clear. That's why sandalwood is often used for purification rites. It's why sandalwood is often burned during meditation, because it has this beautiful ability of just clearing out all the mental clutter and helping us really tune into the present moment, to dive more into the sensual experience. And when I say sensual, I mean being able to pick up what is being communicated through all of our senses, to be that deeply engaged with life, where we're really rooted in the feeling nature of this earthly experience, something that so many people have lost touch with. So many people just go through the motions. So many people intellectualize their existence. They've lost the ability to really connect in a deep, visceral, emotional way with their earth walk. And that's something that sandalwood can teach us. And it's also what we learn through working with the energy of Lakshmi. Now, there's an interesting creation story regarding Lakshmi, and then we'll dive into the cards to expand on the message. But I really wanted to touch base with this, because there's no way that I could really appropriately deliver this message and do it justice without talking about this a bit. You see, Lakshmi is the 14th of 13 other treasures that emerged from the churning sea. A churning sea, a churning cosmic ocean of milk that was a task undertaken through a rather questionable alliance between the gods and the demons over centuries to recover lost prosperity and Amrita, the nectar of immortality. We're not going to go into the 13 other treasures, but Lakshmi was the final treasure that came through, the 14th. 14, the energy of temperance. And well, we do know that we have a full moon coming in soon on the 29th. It's also when Mercury goes retrograde. And we're going to be traveling back in time, even as we're moving forward. And there's some interesting dynamics coming in this lunar cycle, but we do know that the birth of Venus really comes through and the blessings of Jupiter are delivered with the initiation of that Cancerian new moon on the 14th of July, which is a mirror for the Gemini new moon that came in on the 14th of June. So what am I really taking away from all of this? I'm taking in that there is a need for us to calm, to become present. There is a need for us to really discover the true resilience and strength that comes from giving without anticipation of reciprocation, but simply it's because what you are called to do, without any desire for reward, to simply follow your soul's directive, to do so with humility, which inquires within how we place our value system if we're not appreciating the wealth that we already have. And maybe there's a way that we're viewing wealth too linearly, or we've put it within a box of what society told us is prosperity. And there's a need for us to tap into wealth in its many forms, a wealth of experience, a wealth of wisdom, a wealth of even grief that becomes a doorway through to an unguarded, fierce love that has the resilience of the sandalwood tree. And trees, they're quite potent medicine. People always say a tree is only as strong as its roots. And this is true, but roots can be unearthed. And branches can sway with the breeze. But what remains solid and upright at all times is the trunk, the very heart of the tree. And in this case, the tree trunk is what holds the records. It measures time, it tells stories, and it's the thing that remains upright, even until the time it takes a fall. And there's something about that we're being asked to embody at this time. And there could be something coming through about questionable alliances, or maybe a need to put some grievances aside in order to work together for a common cause. And this gives an interesting moment of pause. So let's see what comes through the cards. And because of the nature of the download, I chose to bring in the angels and imps, since we got kind of a blending of energies here. But Lakshmi is said to bring in beauty and bounty and blessing, and also awareness, enlightenment. And so I feel what you are being enlightened to is the need to let go of some heaviness, so you can move into the lightness of being that lifts you up to that North Star that's guiding you to the place where you belong. Okay, so let's see what comes through here as we open up to this message. Well, do you see? We have the Empress coming on through. The Empress who imbibed a bit of the poison to arrive at the cure. So there's this really interesting dichotomous energy that's coming through about the way what something seems rather negative can be the very source of our healing. What seems a poison is actually really important to grok and understand in order to be able to extract from it what is needed for the cure, the bounty here. This is a time of fertility. It is a time of fruitfulness. It is a time of ripening. We are now in summer season. We just had summer solstice. So we had the zenith of the sun. And now is when things begin to ripen on the vine. There's sweetness that is starting to be nurtured in what we've set in motion and what we're growing here. There's also an opportunity to find peace. Not only find peace, but find that there's some kind of generosity that's being provided here. But in order to see the gift and be able to receive that amrita, that nectar of immortality that we imbibe from the miraculous chalice, it's that thing that we can take in that continually nurtures us, nourishes us in an inexhaustible way. We have to go through some kind of transformation. We have to be willing to activate our self-knowledge. And much like the tree with its strong trunk that always remains upright, we often achieve this when we remain upright and we straighten our spine and we turn our gaze inward and we allow ourselves to tune in and listen to the more subtle communication that comes through when we're not distracted by the material, and instead we start to make contact with the immaterial. Empress energy. This is a moment of creativity being birthed. This is a moment of awareness coming through. You're transmuting something here, and this just flipped up in the middle of the deck, and I'm going to just reveal it to you so you can see I'm not pulling any funny business with you. It's the Emperor on the scene, and something's covering the Emperor here. Ooh, look at how that Emperor comes through. The Emperor comes through, weaving something into creativity, weaving a web. Is it a web of light or a web of deceit? We know that the Emperor has some secrets. We also know that the Emperor has done some cleansing, some spiritual cleansing. This Emperor has certain powers too. This Emperor is able to control the weather, the rain, the lightning. You will find him in the petrichor. He comes in after the storm, after a moment of illumination where he cracks open the sky of your consciousness, reveals something to you that you've never seen before, perhaps a different side of him. Whatever he reveals can either be the cause or the cure of pestilence. It's all about your perception. It's about your ability to see without filters, without biases. Remember, sandalwood is connected to Lakshmi in the sense of that purity. So this implies some need to have beginner's mind in a situation where there may be a lot of residual experiences left over, psychic imprints of past times when you may have encountered this Emperor, tricky stuff you may have been caught up in, tricky webs of deceit. Who really spun them? Did we spin them through our own fears, or were they spun through the Emperor's fears? And what secrets are there to unravel here? And perhaps there's something that you're meant to unravel together. Something you're meant to cleanse away together to arrive at the cure of what's been poisoned between the two of you. We have Emperor to Empress here. But what was covering the Emperor? Ah, look at that. Judgment. for an alliance that's ready to be forged with the Six of Cups. So perhaps one of you is viewed as the demon and the other is viewed as a god. It's that kind of dichotomous energy. One is viewed as being on more of a crooked path and the other the straight and narrow. And yet you bring those paths together, and together they form the way through. There's some sense of having taken a fall. Somebody in this connection feels like they fell from grace. They feel like they suffered some kind of humiliation. But is it humiliation or is it humility? There's a big difference. Humility is really understanding your place in the natural order of things. It's really just understanding the point of unity. What separates us is more egocentric drives of somebody being better than the other and needing to best another, and these competitive themes that are woven into our societal structure. And see, this is an opportunity where somebody gets to discover that this is not about humiliation, it's about humility. And in understanding the difference, there's a way through that lifts up those who have fallen. Six of Cups. There's judgment for two here. Perhaps both have felt some sense of humility, humiliation. Maybe humiliation that led to humility. But now there's motivation to lift the energy up. I don't feel like it's something coming from just one quarter. These are two who want to find the way through. They want to cleanse and purify the waters of Eridanus, that constellation that flows from the vessels of Aquarius, to find a new flow, a new way forward through transformation. There's some kind of constellation coming in here to make up for a time of adversity. 22:10 on the clock. Emperor energy coming in with the High Priestess energy. Two feel an intuitive pull toward each other. It's a thing of power. It's a magnetizing force. It's turning the wheel of fortune. It's creating locomotion. It's opening up the road to a new journey. And yet I know there's secrets to be discovered here. There's mysteries to discover along the way. It's interesting how this keeps happening. Cards are flipping up underneath what's covering them. So see, here we find Two of Swords. I mean, somebody does feel like they had to embrace the truth. At one time, they were really brandishing a certain truth, but it was based more off of a perspective that came from a place of humiliation rather than humility. I feel this really strongly. And in some ways, seeing through this and understanding something more clearly, it's anchored someone in their spot. They feel like this truth that they brandished sort of was the thing that kept them stuck in place because they encountered something that was contrary to that sword they were willing to fall upon. You see, at one point, this truth was used as a form of ammunition. I'm going to use this truth against you. It was used to send soldiers to appointed places, to prepare for some kind of attack or need to protect or need to defend. But now it gives reason for pause. Somebody is really realizing maybe there's more layers to this truth than I previously saw. Okay, let's see what was covering this truth. Six of Swords. The courage to let it go. The courage to let go of a perception is what shifts the view to be able to perceive unity, where at one point there was only discord. This is going to be the thing that heals what has been ailing. It's a bit of the wisdom that we retrieved from Chiron and Aries. It's based on what we value now, what we appreciate more as a result of going deeply within the center of ourselves now that we have Taurus and Chiron. This is going to protect against future accidents, and it allows us to perceive where there's actually a connecting point here. It could have seemed like you couldn't be more further apart in your perspectives, the way you experienced a situation. And now you're going to see that you actually share a more common view than you anticipate. So can you rise above the previous perception of trickery? That's the key. Because that can be a little sticky when we're looking at webs that have been woven into creation. How can you turn a web of deceit into a web of light? That's what you're discovering here. How to turn a web of deceit into a web of light, where instead of it being something that catches you up and makes you susceptible to those who would feast upon you in your vulnerability, can actually become the very thing that has you weaving something new into creation with, at what time may have seemed, a questionable alliance. So there's something shifting here, because there is this desire to obtain the Amrita, the nectar of immortality. Maybe a connection is able to survive beyond what tested it. There's something that endures in this connection that can't be erased, even though there was this hardship faced. Interesting. Okay, give us some more clues about this. This sounds like an interesting dynamic coming through over the next 72 hours. We got an introduction of these themes, but you know, these reads are truly timeless. It happened again. See, something's cloaked right now. Something's not seen. So there's some kind of unveiling happening here. 6 of Pentacles. Something's happening that's going to lead to unity where there was once frisson. Leads to cooperative effort, teaming together where there was once factions. There's a unifying point here. Look at those 2 rings on the pillow. It reminds me of those diagrams, right? Where it shows like all the opposing views, and then there's like the intersecting point in between. It's a meme, right? It reminds me of that. There's things that you have seen as if you have very separate perspectives, but what you're not understanding is there is a place where your very seemingly separate perspectives actually intersect. And that is the focal point that finds the way through. There's something coming through here that is reversing what has been causing so much fire in a situation. And when I say fire, I'm speaking from a place of inflammatory emotions, inflammatory words, arguments, tensions, stress, in some cases, rage. Some would even say righteous rage, and pestilence, something that's been spoiling the harvest. Maybe there's a certain harvest that can only come through if 2 sow the seeds together. There's something that must be done through a cooperative effort. It can't live up to the destiny without these 2 forces teaming together. That's interesting. Somebody may have been cast into the penalty box. Somebody may have been assumed guilty, and actually they're being absolved of that guilt with the 6 Pentacles here. There's something that's being balanced out between 2. Maybe 2 that were separated through some kind of campaign, fueled by rage, fueled by forces that did want to spoil the harvest. 29:10 on the clock. Justice coming in with the Wheel of Fortune. I see, look at this. Spreads destruction by fire. These are the impious forces. That was their aim. To create disappointment and loss where there was supposed to be union. But some secrets are being revealed to you. And you're Self-knowledge is about to be activated through an increasing of your intellect. And intellect is at its highest when it's able to really be merged with your intuitive faculties too. That's when you really get that quality of wisdom merged with intuition that becomes the stuff of our instinct. When you don't necessarily need rationality to back it up. We've all had these moments where we just feel something flowing through us and we know, I have to do this. There may not be any rhyme or reason to it, but I know I have to do this. And there's something like this coming through. Because what I see is that something is getting a pass. Something is being balanced out, and it's coming through divine grace. Some kind of balance has been achieved, even though you might not see it outwardly just yet. It's happening right now. And you're discovering those connecting points between what used to seem polar opposites. The work is complete. And so the journey begins. There's a movement forward. And the heart flings its doors wide open and lets all the light in that wants to be received. There's answers to questions you've long had about the past, your present, and future, what is to be. There's something coming in here that's going to give you dignity, where you felt like you endured some kind of humiliation. Some of you may feel like you were put through some kind of humiliation ritual. You may have felt like you were even the target. And yet there's rectification coming here. And this is granting you a very special favor, not only of allies, but also those who at one point may have been your foes, but they're now having a new understanding. They're seeing something differently. So I do feel like somebody that you used to be at odds with is starting to come around your way. And somehow you too are finding the way through to open up a new road here. Very interesting. You're going to be working together with somebody you thought you'd never work with again. Who this person is to you, I'm not sure. They could be a lover, they could be a friend, they could be somebody that you worked with before on a project, they could be a family member, somebody that you used to be at odds with. But there's new loyalty here. There's strength for the road ahead. Both of you are firmly rooted in your power now. We have Emperor to Empress. This is a balanced partnership. So you might be quite surprised at what is coming through here, but I also feel it's a real test. It's a real test, and perhaps that's why sandalwood is coming through too. Are you able to go beyond your sort of knee-jerk reactions? There might be something about this experience that the magnitude of it, when your energies come together, it's a thing of power. It's a magnetizing force. It's a magnifying experience. It's ferromagnetic. It really stirs up the wild, untamable places. Now, that can be an activating force or it can be an activated force. And there's a difference. We've talked about this before. So perhaps sandalwood is coming in to tell you to ground, to calm, to get centered, to get in touch with your senses, to root Muladhara, root your root deep within the core of the earth so you can have that stability that really anchors the resilience, the strength of the tree, so you can reach up your branches and tap a little bit of that heaven and embody it. Because there's something that's acting as a bridge here. But it does have this sense that it can be activating or it can be activated. The connection is meant to be activated because together the creative forces merge with the avenue of the way. It's almost like you two need to come together to pull something through that can't be rooted in material reality as long as the two of you are at odds. And that's why this bridge needs to be formed between what's been divided here, okay? So you might need to get yourself prepared. Maybe this is something coming through to really tell you to start to do the groundwork, to calm yourself, to get yourself in a nice, open, receptive space, so you will be able to be activated by this instead of it being an activating, reactive kind of experience, okay? That can be the tricky thing about this, okay? There's a little bit of the mystery that gets woven into reality through you two uniting your forces and what you pull through together. Okay, see more details coming in here. We got a little shadow light action, bottom of the deck. Ooh, Baphomet, the magician. Now see, isn't that intriguing? Because when you look at Baphomet, you got the masculine and the feminine united right there. So this is something that is actually being rooted in material reality. So you may have sent something up, you know, sandalwood, it does carry those prayers, those wishes up to the heavens so they can be granted. So you may have sent something up with a little bit of smoke. It's even said that if you write down your prayers or your wishes on sandalwood chips and then you burn them, it manifests them into reality. So this gives me the impression of something that you did seed out there in the quantum field of multiplicity, but now it's starting to filter into your reality. You're starting to see signs of it, and it's because you've cleared some kind of blockage within yourself that is allowing it to finally come through. And where you have been feeling like you've been lacking or you've been struggling materially, there's this indication of new vitality coming in. It's like you're getting powered up here. If you felt depleted, there's something coming in here that's giving you a new kind of inner strength, resilience, and it is leading to tangible physical results. This is a time of financial prosperity for you. And where you are looking to safely bridge your earthly experience with the divine, you are finding a way to make that connection. You do not need the intermediary. The way through is you, and this connection is being made. So really potent energy coming in here. Let's see what we got here, okay? On the shadow side here, we have 5 of Pentacles. So this is that scarcity consciousness. This is the humiliation rather than humility. Very different energy signatures here. But there's something that is coming through that's leveling the playing field here. And there's a certain story, a story about a sinner that's finally being laid to rest as well. And it's bringing an Ace of Cups, a brand new beginning, miraculous chalice. It's bringing some kind of renewal energy here to a storyline. And there's mercy that comes in and longevity. So maybe you are finding that Amrita contained within that chalice. Summer timing card. It's all about to go down, so pay attention because there's signs of this that are going to start peeking through over the next 72 hours. Let me do a cut of the deck and see what we got. Page of Pentacles. So new learning cycle is beginning here. What you're about to face is a very unique experience. You've never dealt with this kind of dynamic before, and certainly not with this character. And it does talk on this card about the uses of stones and herbs. So I do want to bring through a couple things if you feel called to work with sandalwood that you can pair with it to really support you. If you want to connect viscerally with this message and root a little bit of it in your earth walk. So tourmalated quartz is excellent for really bridging the spiritual into the material, and to be able to do so in a very clear, grounded way. The tourmaline helps to really ground the energy, and the clear quartz provides that clarity. And it also is a purifying type of energy too. So it helps to root things in the material with clarity and stability, and that can be very helpful for working with this energy. And if you are an alchemist and you have been going through a real deeply transformational process and you've been experiencing a lot of changes, you may also want to work with rutilated quartz. And that brings in that quality of the gold that is spun when we work with the leaden material, and we really raise it up to the highest frequency, okay? And it can bring just a different level of manifestation through that allows you to really anchor your visions in a very visceral way. And if you're working with your creative energy a lot in regard to this, like maybe you're working on a creative project, or there's some creative aspiration you have, like something you've been working on, it's a dream, it's a vision you have, and you've been pouring yourself into it to root it in material reality, and you've been struggling maybe with gaining traction in the material sector in relation to this. Maybe finding it difficult to find somebody to invest in your project that you're working on, or you're finding it difficult to get the traction you're looking for. You might want to bring in some citrine or carnelian that can really support those creative efforts and just enhance the solar energy around that. It can be very beneficial. Also, it can help you have confidence as you start to put yourself out there and what you have to share. Also, amethyst is wonderful too. Amethyst is wonderful to support transformation. So you can bring these stones in, just carrying them on your person or holding them while you meditate or while you do your visualizations, or maybe you want to create a crystal grid to just hold the charge of that energy in your environment. There's different ways you can work with it. And in terms of just allowing yourself to get more in touch with your senses and to let go of some of the guarding you may have, and allow yourself to sort of warm up and open up and start to unfurl the petals of your heart, you might want to combine sandalwood with rose or sandalwood with lavender. Together, the scent is just heavenly, but it's also very calming, very tonifying for the nervous system. It can support you in getting good rest, and it's also just wonderful for just helping you let down all of your inhibitions and just really get in touch with your creative energy too, okay? These can act as good familiars for you as you enter this new learning cycle, because this is very uncharted territory. So it's going to be unlike anything you've experienced before. Just be prepared for this. Let's see. It's a date with destiny, and it's coming in to align you with your North Star. Beautiful energy. You're being gifted your star. You're going to start to see the first little rays of your star coming into view. And there's clemency here, and there's equilibrium. So you're being set free from something that's held you back for far too long, and it's really giving you a chance to catch a tail of a star and go for quite a ride here. And I feel like you got company along the way, so this is really beautiful. And there may be some elements that would like to work against this union that's being forged, but you do have protection, and this has been sanctioned by the spiritual courts. So you're finding a way through. I think I want to go ahead and get a round of oracle cards here just to give focal points for working with this energy. I'm going to work with the Goddess Guidance Oracle since Lakshmi came through, just to see how we can support this message, really embody it and root it in our day-to-day reality to help quicken these manifestations, to help facilitate us opening up to this experience. It's quite dynamic. I'll be really curious to see how this starts to weave into our reality here. Let's see what comes on through. How can we really root this message into our material reality and flow with this dynamic energy so we can open up to the full magnitude and beauty of this experience that's on offer for us, so we can partake of that Amrita, that nectar of immortality, that thing that will always go on eternal, even long after we have left this plane. It will leave its mark. It will leave its perfume to linger in the consciousness of the collective. Ooh, okay. So there's something here about focused intention. Really keep your sights centered on what you would like to see unfold in your reality, rather than having more of a hindsight type perspective. You have the hindsight, you have the wisdom that you've gained through the experiences of the past. But now it's time to really imbue that in your focus as you take aim on your future here. Keep your unwavering thoughts, feelings, and actions focused on your target, and you will make your mark. Coming in with Diana, Huntress energy coming through here. With this full moon coming in Capricorn on the 29th and the start of Mercury retrograde. That is the lunar cycle that's culminating, that was initiated with the Sagittarius blue moon on May 31st. That came in there. So there could be an intention that you set at that time that you really need to maintain your focus with, because it's about to come into your awareness in your material reality. There's signs of it showing up here. So pay attention, and it really is true. I've been seeing these signs come on through myself, and it's so evident when you're out in the flow of nature. So make sure that you are getting some time outdoors. Yeah, look at this. It's a time of fertility that's coming through here. And this is something about a cosmic egg of creation, something that started as one seed, maybe something that you initiated in the springtime. It's multiplying. It's now a basket full of cosmic eggs of creation. And there's a lot of new projects you're about to launch. There's a lot of new ideas that are about to awaken in your consciousness. And there's new conditions that are about to get rooted for you here. So it's all starting to kick off over the next 72 hours. So pay attention. There's also the need here for you to move into this very sensitively. And this is looking at more the young part of you. A lot of times when we've gone through difficult situations, especially in relationships where there's been fallout with others, there can be the very young part of us that's activated. So this is really protecting that part of yourself, you know, being gentle with that part of yourself as you start to open up to these experiences. Also, for those of you that do have children, it might be really important for you at this time to spend some extra time with your kids, you know, and maybe encourage them to open up about what they're feeling, especially if you've been going through a lot of changes and there's been a lot of stuff that's been happening that's been pretty heavy for you. Children are so sensitive, they pick up on that. So there might be something here about spending some quality time with your kids. For the rest of you that don't have children, I feel this is really about you tending to that young part of yourself, but also tending to those projects that are like your babies, you know, those things that are your dreams and your aspirations. For some of you, things you've dreamt of since you were a kid that you've really been pouring your heart and soul into. It's really time to nurture that space, you know, and give yourself a little bit of a confidence boost to keep going. Even though you may not have seen immediate signs of it coming to fruition, it is coming through. And I love this. I mean, the land is forming before you. We have that fire, that pent up fire, something that at one point was really pressurized, is now being released, and it's being released in the form of divinely inspired passion. And this is merging with the water, with your emotions, with your intuition, with your creativity. And this is what's forming the new stretch of road before you. We have Pele coming through here. So be honest with yourself. What is your heart's true desire? Because this is where you need to really put your focus. It is your point of fertility. Don't focus on just making do. This is really time to connect with what lights your heart up, because this is the thing that needs to be nurtured at this time, okay? And let me do a cut the deck to see what we got here. I mean, we have Isolde, undying love. So for those of you that this is dealing with a fractured relationship, and it does look like there is this quality coming in here where there were problems in a connection and something's being ironed out here. Just know that the love that the two of you have shared is eternal, regardless of outside experiences. And maybe if you spend some time sitting beneath that perfume tree, there's some kind of awareness that will come through for you in relation to that, that will help soften and dissolve what's currently blocking off your heart from what wants to come in here. Because I feel like this is really a key. There's been sort of a holding pattern in your energy body that's preventing you from receiving something that really wants to come in here for you. And so sandalwood is coming in as a teacher to show you how do you enter that perfumed garden and find this beauty emerging. And I love it. We have Saraswati, the arts. So yes, this is the creative energy coming in. And for those of you who are really working on a passion project here, maybe you've been feeling a little deflated, or maybe you've been apprehensive for one reason or another to get started on it, to get those cogs turning, to set something in motion. It's time for you to express yourself, because your creativity is about to be activated. And this is a very important part of this fertility that wants to get rooted in your reality. Beautiful message. The energy is really shifting. It really is. And I hope that you spend some time really tapping into what's being seeded here over the next 72 hours. And I dare say, if you do, you'll catch the first rays of that twinkling star, whose rays guide you to the place you belong. Godspeed.